The message arrived 3 days after the Perseus storms had shredded half the outer relay network. Most of the galaxy ignored it. It wasn't the first distress beacon to flicker out of a dead sector, and it wouldn't be the last. The coordinates pointed to Ecliptus 9, a gravity-twisted wasteland orbiting a pulsar that burned through dimensions the way old engines burn fuel. The signal itself was corrupted. Half plea, half feedback loop. But one phrase cut through the static in crisp galactic common. Please help us. No one in their right mind would answer, which, of course, left the humans. Aboard the HFS Dauntless, Captain Imani Reyes watched the repeating waveform dance across the holodeck. Her reflection in the blue light was calm, deliberate, almost amused. They're calling from a planet officially listed as impossible, she said. We'd better bring sunscreen. Across the table, Chief Engineer Arun Patel snorted into his coffee. Sunscreen, Captain? We'll need a full theology department. That place breaks physics for fun. Good thing we stopped believing in limits, Reyes replied. Arun grinned. He liked that about her. Humanity's so-called Deathworld fleet had a reputation for sending the most reckless, ingenious people into places the rest of the galaxy had quarantined. They'd turned survival into an art form, and Captain Reyes was its quiet maestro. The briefing room smelled faintly of ozone and machine oil, the familiar perfume of half a dozen jury-rigged upgrades. Dr. Kira Holloway, the ship's xenobiologist, perched on the table's edge, eyes bright with the optimism that refused to die even in a warship's belly. What if they're still alive? She asked softly. The message pattern, those bursts might be deliberate, not random at all. Rook Vasquez, the dauntless weapons specialist and resident cynic, leaned against a wall and twirled a coin between gloved fingers. Doc, the last thing still alive on that rock probably has too many teeth and not enough morals. Kira shot him a look. You don't know that. I know planets that eat drones tend not to send polite invitations. Reyes raised a hand before the argument could evolve into another of their philosophical sparring matches. We don't know what's down there, and that's exactly why we're going. Every other fleet ignored the call. That's not who we are. Because we're crazy, Rook said. Because we care, Kira countered. Arun raised his mug. Both can be true. The Dauntless prepared for launch within the hour. Its hull was old but battle-scarred in a way that suggested affection rather than neglect. Panels bore the marks of hasty welding and the graffiti of past missions. Still alive, mostly. Tried turning it off and on again, and a crudely drawn alien skull with a smiley face. As the ship undocked from the orbital platform, the voice of the flight AI crackled over the comms. Course locked for Ecliptus 9. Probability of successful return. Statistically discouraging. Rook grinned. Love the enthusiasm. HLET. Optimism mode is disabled. The AI replied. Kira's laughter filled the bridge. A brief burst of warmth against the cold stars outside. They jumped through fold space in a shimmer of blue distortion. Time lost meaning during the crossing. The Dauntless shuddered like a living thing as it fought against the distortions radiating from their destination. When normal space reasserted itself, the crew found themselves adrift above a bruised world. Ecliptus 9 rotated unevenly, its atmosphere veined with violet storms. Lightning rippled sideways across its surface as if striking between dimensions. Orbiting debris glittered like shards of glass. Looks cozy, Rook said. Radiation belts are fluctuating, Arun reported, and gravity's having an identity crisis. Reyes studied the readings, unfazed. Lock us into a high orbit. Kira, isolate that SOS signal. Kira's fingers danced over a console. The pattern resolved, part sound, part structure. It wasn't just an audio distress call. It was encoded in space-time distortion. Something intelligent had bent reality to cry for help. She turned pale but fascinated. Captain, whoever sent this didn't use technology. They used physics itself. Rook whistled low. Yeah, definitely friendly. Can you trace it? Reyes asked. Kira nodded. The signal originates from the planet's southern hemisphere. Near what used to be an ocean, there's an artificial energy field around it. Then that's where we're going. The descent preparation was ritualistic. Arun double-checked the shuttle's inertial dampeners. Kira packed every scanning tool she could carry. Rook cleaned his rifle while whistling an ancient Terran song about bad ideas. Reyes merely stood at the viewport, watching the broken planet rotate beneath them. When the shuttle detached, it dove through storms that glowed like molten glass. Gravity bucked, and static danced through their bones. Atmospheric composition's unpredictable, Kira said, frowning at her display. Pockets of breathable air, then none at all. So, hold your breath and hope evolution did us a favor, Rook said. Arun's voice was tight with concentration. Hold on to something. The ground keeps moving. The shuttle broke through the clouds, and silence fell. Below them stretched ruins that defied comprehension. Twisted towers fused into crystalline ridges, like a city halfway turned inside out. The terrain pulsed faintly, as if alive. They landed on a flat ridge where the beacon's readings were strongest. Wind howled with an electric tang. Kira knelt and touched the ground. It's warm. The whole crust is conducting energy. Arun scanned the readings. Captain, this rock isn't just radiating. It's responding to us. Rook unslung his rifle. Maybe it likes visitors. Then the signal changed. The faint repeating please help us became distorted, slower, almost questioning. Help you? Reyes's breath caught. Did it just... The ground trembled. Dust rose. A fissure split the ridge, and from its depths came a sound like distant thunder or something trying to breathe. Arun's instruments went wild. It's interacting with our systems. The signal's rewriting our telemetry. Back to the shuttle. Reyes ordered, but before they could move, the fissure flared with white light, flooding the landscape. Kira shielded her eyes. For an instant she thought she saw shapes, humanoid silhouettes woven from energy reaching upward. And then the voice came again, clearer now, resonating inside their skulls. Why do you return to the wound? The light faded as suddenly as it appeared. The fissure sealed, leaving scorched earth where it had opened. Silence. Only the whine of their suit filters and the crackle of static. Rook broke it first. Captain, permission to freak out a little? Denied, Rhea said, steady as ever. She glanced at her team, saw fear and awe in equal measure. We came to help whoever sent that signal. Looks like they're expecting us. Kira's voice trembled. Captain, that wasn't a distress call. It's an invitation. Reyes nodded slowly. Then let's not be rude guests. Above them, the clouds swirled faster, coalescing into a spiral that mirrored the SOS waveform. The storm itself was listening. The Dauntless orbited silently overhead, its sensors flickering, unaware that every transmission now echoed back not into space, but inward, towards something buried deep beneath Ecliptus 9. Something waiting. Ecliptus 9 looked dead, but the kind of dead that refused to stay still. From orbit, the HFS Dauntless recorded seismic pulses that rippled in rhythmic waves across the planet's crust. The readings resembled a heartbeat. Irregular, labored, yet undeniably alive. In the command bay, Captain Amani Reyes leaned over the holomap, expression carved from steel. The pulse matches the energy field around the beacon, she said. Whatever's under there isn't a ruin. It's active. Chief Engineer Arun Patel frowned at his console. Active is one word. Sentient nightmare architecture is another. Nightmare or not, we're going in, Reyes said. Her tone was final, not unkind. Dr. Kira Holloway rubbed her temples. Captain, this environment isn't obeying standard physics. The atmosphere is refracting neutrinos. Refracting? That shouldn't even be possible. Arun finished for her. You keep saying that word like it means something. Across the bay, Rook Vasquez holstered his rifle. The doc's right, Cap. Everything about this place screams bad idea, and not the fun kind. Reyes smiled thinly. I appreciate your concern, Corporal. Suit up. The shuttle's descent this time was quieter. The crew moved with a concentration of people aware that mistakes would not be forgiven. They landed near the beacon, an obsidian spire half buried in the ground, pulsing with inner light. Around it stretched what had once been a city, now a graveyard of geometry. Streets folded upward, Buildings twisted into spirals, and matter itself seemed to hum in complaint. Kira crouched near a cracked column. The air was thick with static, humming against her skin. These structures weren't destroyed, she murmured. They were reconfigured, molecular rearrangement at planetary scale. Arun scanned the spire, eyes narrowing. That thing's running on principles that make quantum entanglement look quaint. It's drawing power from the planet's core. Rook stepped carefully, boot crunching on a layer of crystal dust. Question: why does every alien ruin glow like a doomsday device? Reyes ignored the quip. She was staring at the spire's base, where faint markings curved like script. The grooves shifted when she looked at them, language that rewrote itself mid-observation. Kira, give me a translation. Kira's scanner flickered, the translation algorithm stuttering. It's adaptive. The symbols restructured depending on who's viewing them. She paused, voice tightening. Captain, it's reading us. A vibration thrummed through the ground, deep and deliberate, like the planet itself was clearing its throat. Arun swore under his breath. Sensors are picking up energy spikes, massive ones. The whole crust is resonating. Reyes straightened. Everyone back to the shuttle. The spire pulsed, releasing a shock wave that flung them to the ground. Instruments screamed, lights died, and for a breathless moment, gravity forgot which way was down. When it stabilized, the sky had changed. The clouds had vanished, revealing a sun that shouldn't exist, a white sphere burning too close, suspended in defiance of orbital mechanics. Kira gasped. That's not the star we orbited. It's local, manufactured. Arun spat grit and forced the systems back online. Captain, our link to the Dauntless is gone. Every frequency is being absorbed. Rook checked his weapon, jaw tight. Great. Stranded on a physics experiment gone wrong. Rhea stood, brushing dust from her armor. We adapt. That's what we do. They regrouped under the spire's shadow. The energy hum had softened, like a heartbeat settling after exertion. Reyes felt it through her boots, a pulse answering her own. Kira knelt again, eyes wide with fascination rather than fear. I think it's aware of us. The last time we touched down, it reacted to our signal. Maybe this entire structure is alive, or a conduit for something that is. Rook scowled. A living distress beacon. That's new. Arun paced, scanning with portable sensors. No, look. There's harmonic interference. If I can isolate the frequency, can you use it to reestablish contact? Reyes asked. Arun hesitated, then grinned crookedly. Maybe, or I'll accidentally broadcast our location to something older than language. 50-50, Rook muttered. Those odds sound familiar. Kira stood suddenly. Captain, the beacon's surface temperature is dropping, but the core's heating up. If it keeps rising at this rate, we'll be vaporized. Reyes looked to Arun. Options? Real ones? None. Improvised ones? He tore open a maintenance kit and began pulling parts from 3 different devices. If I can reroute the beacon's discharge through an EM feedback loop, I might buy us time. Rook raised an eyebrow. With what? Duct tape and hope? Don't insult duct tape. Reyes crouched beside him, watching as he cobbled together a small array of emitters. Make it work. He did. Somehow, humanity's oldest survival trick, turning desperation into innovation. The emitters flared, forming a containment field that stabilized the beacon's surface temperature. The humming slowed. Kira exhaled, half laughing. You actually did it. Arun grinned. You sound surprised. Constantly. The reprieve lasted exactly 12 seconds. Then the beacon's pulse shifted tone, from rhythmic to intentional. The language etched into its surface flared again, resolving briefly into a shape they all understood. A human handprint. Kira stepped forward involuntarily, pressing her gloved palm against the mark. The ground quivered. Light bled upward through the cracks, forming a translucent figure. Humanoid, but fragmented, shifting between shapes. Its voice came not as sound, but as a vibration in their skulls. The wound must remain sealed. Do not unmake the chain. Reyes forced herself to speak. We're responding to your distress signal. Who are you? The figure flickered. Images slammed into their minds. Cities collapsing inward. Stars splitting like fruit. Being screaming in silence as reality folded. Then it whispered, "We call for help. You answered. You should not have come." And it vanished. The spire dimmed. The pulse ceased. For a heartbeat, all was still. Then the horizon erupted. A wall of light surged outward, sweeping toward them at impossible speed. The shuttle exploded in a burst of white before anyone could react. The blast didn't burn. It erased, tearing the landscape apart molecule by molecule. Reyes shouted, "Move!" They dove into a fractured trench as the wave passed overhead, a howling curtain of brilliance that left no shadow. When it faded, the city was gone. Only smooth glass remained where stone and steel had stood. Arun coughed, disbelief written on his face. That wasn't an explosion. That was a reset. The planet's rewriting itself. Kira clutched her scanner. "Captain, we triggered a defense mechanism." The signal wasn't a call for help. It was a warning. Reyes stared at the scorched horizon, her jaw set. Too late to unread it. Rook scanned the sky, eyes narrowing. "Cap, look." Above them, space itself rippled. The Dauntless, still in orbit, flickered in and out of existence, its hull bending like light through water. Reyes met her crew's eyes. "We're not dealing with ruins anymore. This is something alive, and it just noticed us." Silence hung, heavy and electric. Then Reyes spoke again, quiet but certain. "Get ready. Whatever this place is, it's not finished with us yet." For a long moment, none of them spoke. The world had gone silent after the blast. No wind, no static, not even the hum of their own equipment. Then, faintly, Dr. Kira Holloway whispered, "We shouldn't be alive." The trench around them was glass smooth, curving like the inside of a bottle. Beyond its lip, the landscape had turned translucent, as if the planet itself had become memory. Their shadows flickered out of sync with their bodies. Captain Imani Reyes rose slowly, scanning the desolation. "Check yourselves. Anything missing that shouldn't be?" Arun Patel, crouched beside a half-melted scanner, frowned. "Define missing." "Limbs, memories, linear time." Rook Vasquez muttered, dusting glass off his armor. "You know, the usual." Arun frowned at his wrist display. The numbers jumped erratically, minutes counting backward. "Captain, the chronometers, having a crisis." Reyes didn't flinch. "So are we all." "Chief, focus." The calm in her voice steadied them more than logic ever could. She had that gravity, unshakable, quietly defiant. Even now, surrounded by impossible physics, she looked more irritated than afraid. Kira's scanner emitted a soft chime. "Captain, there's movement on the surface." They turned. Beneath the glass, faint shadows swam, humanoid silhouettes drifting like reflections in deep water. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. "They're not physical," Kira said quickly, already scanning. Their energy signatures matched the beacon's core resonance. "So, ghosts," Rook said flatly. "Great." "No," Kira murmured. "More like memories that refuse to die." Reyes crouched beside her. "Can we communicate?" Arun shook his head. "You'd need a signal transceiver that speaks quantum entropy." Rook nodded toward the shifting horizon. "We might want to ask nicely anyway." "They're coming closer." The ground shivered, and in an instant, the world inverted. The sky dropped downward, the ground folded upward, and they fell, not through air, but through concept. When they landed, there was no impact, only disorientation. They stood inside a cavern of light and shadow, where physics had dissolved into suggestion. Every sound carried too far. Every breath echoed like a confession. "This isn't a cave," Kira said. "It's a signal. We're inside it." Reyes steadied herself. "Inside what? A transmission?" Arun's voice was thin. "Inside a mind." Shapes coalesce around them. Fragments of alien cities, floating in overlapping dimensions. The structures flickered between solidity and recollection. Voices whispered in a language that felt ancient enough to hurt. A figure emerged, tall and indistinct, made of light that refused to hold shape. It regarded them with curiosity and sorrow. Reyes met its gaze unflinchingly. You sent the SOS. Yes, the being said, not with sound, but with resonance that shook their bones. We are what remains of the Ecliptans. Once, we sought to master reality. We tore instead. Images cascaded through their minds. Experiments gone wrong. Space-time ruptured. Cities folding inward. A wound in the universe. Self-perpetuating, unable to heal. Kira's eyes filled with tears. You became part of it. We are the wound. We try to contain it, but every attempt made it deeper. Rook grunted. You built a prison out of your own corpses. Classy. Arun glared at him. Maybe try not antagonizing the existential nightmare. We did not call for rescue, the voice continued. We called for witness. We wanted someone to remember us. Your signal was a plea, Kira said. We thought you needed saving. We did, but not the way you think. The light around them flared. The environment warped again, flickering between the alien ruins and their shuttle's interior, as if the memory of both competed for dominance. Arun's instrument screamed. Captain, the dimensional stress is spiking. If this continues, we'll lose structural coherence. Reyes steadied herself against the distortion. Meaning, Arun gasped, we'll come apart at the atomic level, individually. Rook's hand tightened on his rifle. I hate individually. Kira stumbled forward. Wait, maybe it's reacting to us. The Ecliptans couldn't stabilize their field because they lacked adaptive feedback. But human neurobiology thrives on chaos. Maybe. Reyes caught her arm. You're suggesting we interface with a thing that ate a civilization? Kira's eyes shone with conviction. Yes, because it's not trying to kill us. It's trying to understand us. Arun's brow furrowed. And if you're wrong, then we die confused, Rook said dryly. Wouldn't be the first time. Reyes studied her team, their fear, their resolve, and nodded. Do it. Kira approached the figure. It pulsed brighter as she reached out, her gloved hand trembling. The moment her fingertips touched its light, the chamber blazed white. Suddenly she was everywhere. Her consciousness stretched across time, touching fragments of alien memory. She saw Ecliptan scientists collapsing as their experiment imploded. She felt their panic, their guilt, their endless isolation. Through it all, one thought echoed. The wound must remain sealed. Kira gasped as a new voice whispered, not Ecliptan, but human, layered beneath. Her own voice from the shuttle recording hours earlier. What if they're still alive? She stumbled back, eyes wide. Captain, it's using our neural patterns. It's learning from us. Arun tapped furiously at his wrist pad. Then maybe we can teach it something useful before it kills us. What are you doing? Reyes asked. Building a quantum feedback relay. If we sync our cortical signals, we can create a harmonic loop, give it a stable pattern to anchor to, a shared human resonance. Rook blinked. You want to calm a cosmic god with a group hug? Roughly. Reyes nodded once. Do it. They linked via neural tethers, forming a crude network. Energy surged through the connection, searing but bearable. The alien consciousness reacted instantly, its chaotic pulses slowing, then aligning to their rhythm. Reyes felt Kira's awe, Arun's focus, Rook's defiant humor, all blending into something larger. For one surreal instant, they weren't four individuals. They were a pattern of resilience. The being spoke again, its tone softer now. You are small, yet coherent. How? Reyes answered through the link. Because we adapt. Because we keep trying. You could end us. Or free us. Arun's instruments flared crimson. Captain, if we maintain this connection, the dimensional field will collapse. But if we sever it, the wound spreads again. Rook grinned grimly. So either we save the universe or we join it in therapy. Reyes made her choice. We hold the link. They poured their will into the connection. The chamber trembled. The light fractured. Through the bond, Kira sensed the Ecliptans finally at peace, letting go after eons of self-inflicted torment. The fabric of reality began to mend. As the brightness intensified, Reyes shouted over the storm, Transmit everything to the Dauntless. Get it out there. A rune triggered the transmission. Data stream active, if anyone's listening. The last thing they saw before the light consumed them was a figure bowing, grateful, fading, then silence. When awareness returned, there was no chamber, no ground, only endless starlight. They stood together, unharmed, surrounded by fragments of their ship, drifting in zero gravity. Kira whispered, "Did we survive?" Arun looked at the data streaming across his cracked display. For 3 days, the Ecliptus system was silent. No signals, no telemetry, no stars. Then, on the dawn of the 4th day, the light returned. Fleet Command received a fragmented transmission, compressed, encoded, and stamped with a signature thought lost, HFS Dauntless. The message was brief, only 7 words before dissolving into static. We made contact. We understood. We endured. And then nothing more. Weeks later, the investigation fleet arrived. 20 ships, hundreds of personnel, every sensor tuned to maximum sensitivity. They found no trace of the Dauntless or her crew, not even debris. But Ecliptus 9, once a ruin, had changed. The planet now orbited steadily. Its radiation belts gone. The storms had quieted. The air shimmered faintly, not with heat, but with an undercurrent of harmony, as though the world itself was breathing again. From orbit, the surface gleamed like glass veined with silver, forming patterns too deliberate to be natural, geometric, recursive, purposeful. Admiral Rena Hossein, the mission commander, stood on the observation deck of her flagship, staring down at the impossible serenity. "Run it again," she said. Her science officer nodded. Every skin shows the same thing. The planet's emitting low-frequency resonance, subtle but structured. It's musical, sir, like an encoded rhythm. Hossein's gaze didn't waver. "Can we translate it?" "Not fully, but the harmonic signature matches human neural frequencies, roughly aligned to an emotional cadence." "Emotion?" she repeated. "Yes, Admiral. It's laughter and sorrow, both at once." Down on the surface, a survey team landed amid the crystalline plains. Their boots echoed faintly on the smooth terrain. Every step triggered ripples of light underfoot, like walking across frozen starlight. Lieutenant Vero, the mission lead, crouched beside a silver ridge. "These formations, look at the molecular lattice. It's neither mineral nor synthetic." His partner, a young biologist named Shiren, frowned. "It's organic, but it's thinking. There's signal interference at the neural level." "Thinking?" Vero echoed. She touched the surface gently. "It feels like memory." The moment her hand made contact, her visor flickered. Voices flooded her earpiece, fragmented, layered, distinctly human. "Arun, tighten the stabilizer. Cap, we're losing containment. It's learning from us. Keep trying. It's beautiful." The voices faded. Shiren pulled her hand back, trembling. "Sir, it's them." Vero looked around at the gleaming expanse, realization dawning. "The crew?" "Not bodies," she whispered. "Echoes. They're in the planet." The discovery sent shockwaves through Fleet Command. Specialists called it the Dauntless phenomenon, the working theory. The ship and her crew had merged with the alien structure, stabilizing the rift by integrating themselves into the planetary matrix. Where other species would have perished, humanity had adapted. Again, they hadn't died. They had changed. Reports spread quickly, carried through official channels, and whispered across the galactic frontier. Humanity's reputation as Deathworlders took on a new meaning. Not destroyers, not survivors, but transformers, beings who could face the impossible and become what was needed to endure it. At Fleet HQ, Admiral Hossein addressed the assembly. Her voice carried the weight of respect and quiet awe. The crew of the Dauntless answered a call no one else dared to. They faced the collapse of reality itself and responded not with conquest or fear, but with understanding. They bridged the wound that ended a civilization and left behind a world reborn. The hollow behind her displayed Ecliptus 9, now tranquil and luminous. A slow pulse of light radiated from its surface, rhythmic and deliberate, like a heartbeat. "This," Hossein continued, is what humanity is. We are not feared because our world is harsh. We are respected because we thrive where others break. Because when the universe shatters, we don't run, we rebuild. The assembly fell silent. Some bowed their heads. Others simply stared at the image of the shining planet, each lost in private wonder. Months later, the Ecliptus system was designated a protected sanctuary. No mining, no military operations, just quiet observation. From time to time, faint transmissions emanated from the surface, random bursts of modulated static. No known code, no consistent pattern. But every few weeks, one sequence repeated. A rhythmic pulse mimicking the Morse code for SOS, followed by a soft, human laugh embedded in the carrier wave. Scholars called it interference. Hossein called it a reminder. On the edge of the reborn planet, a small research outpost monitored the resonance field. Shiren was there, often alone, listening to the hum beneath the surface. One evening, as the crimson sun dipped behind the horizon, her instruments lit up. The hum grew louder, aligning perfectly with her heartbeat. She activated the translator module, though it was never reliable. To her surprise, the signal resolved. Clear, steady, unmistakably human. Hello, explorer. Her breath caught. Who is this? We're what's left of the Dauntless. Or maybe what's begun. The voice was calm, familiar. It sounded like Captain Reyes, but layered with a dozen undertones. Kira's warmth, Arun's humor, Rook's defiance, blended into a chorus. Shiren whispered, You became part of the planet? Part of the wound. Part of the cure. The Ecliptans couldn't contain it because they tried to fight it. We listened instead. We adapted. Now we hold it steady. Are you trapped? Not trapped. Integrated. We are the equilibrium. Her eyes stung. Can we bring you back? A pause, gentle, amused. You don't need to. We're still human. Shiren. Just redefined. The voice softened, fading like a tide retreating. Tell them we're not gone. Tell them to keep trying. It's beautiful. The signal dissolved into music, wordless, haunting, strangely joyful. Shiren sat in silence long after it ended, watching the light pulse beneath the glassy plain. In the following years, humanity built on what the Dauntless had left behind. Their transmission logs became the foundation of the Reyes Protocol, a philosophy for exploration based on adaptation, empathy, and creativity under impossible pressure. Improvise, empathize, endure, the saying went. It became the fleet's new motto, engraved on every rescue vessel that launched into the void. And yet, sometimes when those new ships drifted to the dark between stars, their comms would catch faint background noise, a gentle heartbeat hidden in static, not interference. A reminder, far away, on Ecliptus 9, the surface shimmered with auroras. Beneath the crystalline crust, neural light danced, shapes that sometimes resemble faces, sometimes laughter. For patterns glowed brighter than the rest. Reyes' calm precision, Arun's restless creativity, Kira's boundless empathy, Rook's irreverent courage. Together, they pulsed in unison, sustaining the fragile harmony that held the world together. When the next alien probe passed overhead, its sensors caught a faint transmission, barely audible through the cosmic hum. A voice, half song, half whisper. We're still here. Keep trying. The probe recorded the message, transmitted it home, and drifted onward. The galaxy listened, and for the first time in a long while, it believed.